It is a beautiful day for cosplay and prop making, and today I've got a bit of a shopping list for you. Now before we dive in, let me just be real with you for one sec. I have recorded this video 3 times already. Every time it's just been too long. There was going to be an essentials list followed by optional, a sort of desirable list. It's just too long doing it this way. So this is going to be the essential list. Optional quality of life stuff will now be in a future video. In this video, I'm also going to assume that you've already got some foam to use. If you don't, you can always use foam floor mats, okay? It's a tongue twister. You can always use floor mats as a starting point. Now for a lot of armor pieces, heavy chest pieces for example, you can actually make most of them out of floor mats. But if you're trying to make something like a thin gun or a sword, something along those lines, you may need craft foam instead to achieve the finish that you're after. So anyway, foam craft essentials, let's get right into it. Alright, so the first thing you're going to need is a cutting mat. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it protects your work surface and means you have something consistently flat and smooth to cut into. Seriously guys, don't use your floor as a surface, don't use your leg as a surface. If you do, you're going to have a bad time. Good? Good. Alright, next up you're going to need a knife.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
Now through time I've managed to accumulate a few, but ultimately a craft knife is what you're after, and usually they come with a selection of blades. Now my favourites are usually the longer blades with the pointy end. Now the pointy end allows you to cut tighter curves easier, and it gives you a bit of precision, but there are circumstances when using other blades will come in handy. Feel free to experiment, but at the very least a craft knife is a necessity. Alright, now since we're using foam that's a bit, well, spongy, you're going to need to sharpen your blades quite a lot. Now, sometimes you're going to need to do it every 3 or 4 cuts, and that might sound a bit overkill until you do this stuff yourself and notice that you really can feel your blade getting blunt with every slice. Now I've always used this kind of sharpener. With these ones it's nice and easy, you just run the blade across the top a few times. But if you want to feel like Gordon Ramsay and get a stick style one, that works perfectly fine as well. Just be careful because ultimately you're using a knife, and after you've sharpened it, well, it'll be really sharp. Also, just tying into safety and knives a little, at some point you probably are going to want to cut a straight edge. Now, you would normally use a ruler to do that, but if you use a normal plastic ruler, you're probably going to do yourself some damage. A metal ruler like this though, is just super useful for measurements, and it will also give you a straight edge that you just can't cut through. Alright, so next up you're going to need glue to stick your build together. Now there's some options here actually. A popular one is something like this. This is a glue gun. Pretty easy to use, can be a little bit messy though. As long as you're kind of careful with the application though, these are actually pretty good. Another one that you can use, of course, is super glue. Use this for smaller things though. If you end up using it to stick big bits of foam together, you're going to get through this stuff pretty quick, and it'll probably end up being pretty expensive. Now my favourite by far is contact adhesive. That's this stuff here. It smells like poison, but the idea is you apply it to 2 surfaces, you wait a few minutes and push those surfaces together. You do it right and this bond will not break. It's clean and tidy, and it's been my go-to since day one. We've got just a couple more things to cover now, and there are a few accessories that I'll skim over right at the end just to round the list off, but if you're planning to paint your props, you're going to need one of these bad boys. Now this is a heat gun. Now when you heat up foam, the surface becomes a bit less spongy, and it's much easier to prime and paint in that state. Now if you try and paint untreated foam, it will soak some of it up. It's actually a real pain in the ass, so make sure you have one of these in your arsenal. It really is a super useful tool. Heat also makes foam bend, so you can make some really interesting shapes and curves that will stay when your foam cools down. Now one thing I have read online is that a hairdryer is a suitable alternative, but after doing a few tests with my own, trust me, it really isn't. Now, you can make it work eventually. You can make foam bend a little bit. You can, make the cells on the surface of the foam start to kind of constrict, ready for painting. But this will do it in a few seconds. You'll be waiting quite a while with a hairdryer, and to be honest, I think you'll burn your hairdryer out really quickly doing it that way. So, save yourself some time. Just get one of these. It really will solve a lot of problems if you do want to paint your props. Now really there's just a couple more things on the list, but the chances are you're going to have these ones already at home somewhere. Marker pens. Marker pens are super useful. Now I use black foam a lot, so I have a white marker for that, but if you have any other colour foam, even the floor mats which are usually grey, A Sharpie's going to do the trick just fine. And also sewing pins, pretty handy. I use these for sticking the blueprints that I have on paper down onto foam. It's just better than using tape because you end up taping the edges of the blueprint down and then you can't really draw around them very easily. So this just makes that a lot easier and it doesn't damage the foam in the process. Alright, well if you've got this far you might be thinking, oh my god, check this guy out, he missed the most important tool. Well, calm down, alright, I'm getting to that. Okay, now this tool here is what we call a rotary tool. My one in particular is a cordless Dremel. Not gonna lie, kind of expensive. That's why I didn't really want to include it on the essentials list. That being said though, if this is something you really do want to explore further and you kind of want to just get into it, at some point along the line you probably are going to want one of these. Now these are really important for just general sanding. You can sort of cut in curves very easily with it, and they come with multiple attachments, so you can do things like clever effects like sort of hammered metal. That's really cool with a Dremel. You can even use it to straight out drill holes as well. It really is a useful piece of kit. Now this one in particular will probably set you back £120. That's quite expensive, not gonna lie. You can get different branded ones with a wire and they'll set you back closer to about £40. So, you know, I appreciate everyone's budgets are different. At the very least, maybe do a little bit of research, have a little look about. From what I saw, what I looked at least on Amazon, a lot of the £40 ones have pretty decent reviews. So at the very least, at a starting point, if you can eke out the funds to get something like that, I would strongly advise that you do so. But I'm not saying it's completely essential. You can achieve an awful lot without one of these, even if it will end up taking you a bit longer. So there you have it. That about rounds up my list of essentials. I do have a list of optional stuff which will be coming down the line, but I want to add a couple of things to it anyway. Our next video is going to be something that I'm really excited to show you. We're going to be doing our first live build, and that'll be complete with a blueprint that you'll be able to download if you actually want to try the build at home. Now, as it's our first build guide, I wanted to do something fairly easy. I'm not sure it's going to quite be doable with foam. There it is again. The amount of times I have said foam floor mats in this recording, you have no idea. I'm not 100% sure if this first build will be viable with floor mats. It's ultimately quite a small piece. It might look a little bit out of shape with chunky floor mats being the base for it, but I will try my best. I'll try my best to give options as well through the video. We're sort of in the middle of kind of recording it and building the prototype so you guys can see it. We'll see how it goes. Either way, that video should be up fairly soon. If you've made it to the end of the video, I assume you liked the video, so please hit the like button, that'd be awesome. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and also to be notified when that build guide goes live. I really can't wait to share that with you. Take it easy everyone, and I'll see you next time.